Oh, hey there. I didn't know we were filming already. I'm just always sitting like this in my garage. But you already know what this video is all about, so let's get right into it. First term that we're gonna go over is a squid. I'm sure you may have heard this word tossed around, particularly in the sport bike world, and it is not a title to wear with pride. If someone calls you a squid, you better check yourself before you wreck yourself. And I don't mean that in any, no pun intended. What it really means is just it's someone who is typically unexperienced, wears a lack of gear, and they ride a bike that is too big for their skill set, like a leader bike as their first bike, and they are reckless on the road and do not care for anyone around them or even for their own safety. It is not a word of endearment, but it is rather an insult and a derogatory word used to call people out, and there is many examples on the internet of videos of squids out on the road. Second term is one percenter. Now this term was coined in the 1940s by the AMA, American Motorcycle Association, to represent that about 99% of all motorcyclists are law-abiding citizens, meaning that 1% of motorcyclists are outlaws. And a lot of people in motorcycle clubs use this term to describe themselves. For a lot of people in clubs, and without naming any in particular, it's a badge of honor that they operate outside the law and defy social norms. Which is why there are those folks who will buy them off the Amazon or some website on the internet and put it on their motorcycle vest because they think it's a sign of being cool. But it is very much frowned upon to wear a 1%er patch or patches from a club that you are not a part of, but we will not go into that in this video. I'm just explaining what that term means. On to the next one. The gear police love throwing this term around, and it's ATGAT. All the gear, all the time. Yes, we know, everybody knows gear equals safety. The choice is to each rider, and everyone who rides takes the responsibility of the risk that they take. So we're just gonna continue on before we dive into that topic. The term chicken strips is often used in the sport bike world as well. It is for the large portion on the outer side of the tire, on the outer edges of the tire that is unused, signifying that the rider is scared to lean or doesn't lean their bike at all. So they call that the chicken strips. In some way you can say that they're too chicken to, lean on their bike. This one's simple. HOG just stands for Harley Owners Group. It's a popular organization amongst Harley riders, and they meet often, have group rides, and run quite a few events and whatnot. So that's why you often hear Harley riders referred as HOGs, or just that term being tossed around within the Harley community. This term I really like, and it's twisties. It's those fun roads with many turns, and you can practice leaning your bike a little bit, whether on sport bike, adventure bike, cruiser, whatever it might be. Twisties are fun all across the board for various riders, especially people who are more advanced and as well learning their skill, because that's a great place to gain confidence. But yeah, twisties are just a lot of turns on roads. Backpack simply means your passenger that rides with you. I don't ever have a backpack. Some people always ride with a backpack. Some people are scared to ride with a backpack. These two words mean the same thing. Tank slapper or the death wobble, something that can happen to anyone and can be fatal and rather scary when you experience it. But it's that violent shaking that you have on the front end of your bike when the front wheel gets misaligned with the rear wheel, typically when going fast, and quite a few various things can cause the death wobble to happen. It definitely makes your heart drop for sure, no matter what level of experience you're at, if you're beginner or advanced. Now I'm just gonna quickly go into the abbreviations and various type of bikes and there's slang names for it, like ATV, all-terrain vehicle, which typically refers to quads, than being off-road use. A bobber is a popular motorcycle style within the cruiser community. It's got a floating seat. Typically the rear fender is chopped or shortened and typically has a hardtail frame. They're usually made in a retro, vintagey themed vibe and have a minimalistic exhaust setup. Cafe racers are also a popular style of motorcycle. They have that iconic elongated seat, and if I remember correctly, they kind of stem from the 1960s. However, they're more optimized for quick rides over short distances and having their handlebars at a lower level than typical. But they also have that retro, vintage vibe to them, which it's more of an aesthetic. Like the bobber, cafe racers give off a certain aesthetic. A club style bike is pretty much just the cliche of what motorcycle club members ride. Even if you are not part of a club, a lot of people do like to style their bike in a club style, which is typically T-bars, a two-in-one exhaust, a step-up seat, all blacked out, or having a custom paint job, but they typically tend to have the similar features. It can really be any bike on cruisers, whether Harley or non-Harleys, Dyna, Sportsters, or even big baggers, touring bikes, but they just pretty much have those few accessories put onto them and they call that club style. I have joked before that my bike is a wannabe Dyna or a wannabe club style bike, or Sportster, a wannabe club style Sportster. A lot of people have an image that comes to mind when they hear the word chopper, where that would be just a custom motorcycle. A lot of times they have tall bars, lower suspension, occasionally have that front end raked out very far, or to real big extremes at times too, which can be hard to turn. But I call them bar hopper bikes because they're not comfortable for all-around handling, but they catch eyes and they're great as a conversational piece and tend to have custom paint or aesthetics done to it as well. A Gixxer is simply the Suzuki GSX-R series of motorcycle, which if you have been around on the motorcycle sphere of the internet or the motorcycle side of the internet, you'll see they get a lot of hate. And I too am not a fan of them. I am on that bandwagon. Naked motorcycles are sometimes referred as to roadsters, but simply imagine if a cruiser and sport bike had a baby, that's what it would be. They have an upright seating position, and I would call them more of a general use motorcycle, kind of good for everything, and they rarely have any fairings. Sport touring motorcycles are pretty much sport bikes and adventure bikes mashed together in mind for long distance riding, and they're rather really comfortable and have a little bit of touch of their speed and comfort put together. Touring bikes are pretty much just baggers, and those are the really big bikes, more ideal for long distance riding. They tend to have quite a few saddlebags and luggages attached to them, and are more on the heavier side of motorcycles. And the last one on this list is cruisers, which this bike would count as a cruiser. They're not sport bikes, they're mainly just as what they're called, for cruising around. They're good for short distance and long distance rides. They're typically smaller, on the smaller side compared to touring bikes, but same idea and concept in mind, just really a size difference more than anything. Now, I'm sure I missed a lot of words that I probably could have added to this video. Feel free to share some that you feel like I should have put into this video that are important to know, or just other uncommon motorcycle slang that not everyone knows the meaning of. But I appreciate y'all watching this video, and feel free to leave a suggestion for future videos in the future. If you want to take a step further in showing your support to this channel, there is a link in the description below. But besides that, I really appreciate y'all watching this and giving your support. Y'all have a great day out there. Stay safe, but most of all, don't forget to spread love to those around you.